On the morning of January 26, 2022, a 911 operator in Maryland got a frantic call. The man on the line was Dr. James Ryan, a 50-year-old oral surgeon who said he'd woken up to find his 25-year-old girlfriend, Sarah Harris, unresponsive. When first responders walked into his upscale home, they found a scene of chaos. The living room was a mess, and on the floor was the lifeless body of a young woman. All around her were the tools of a hospital, not a home. Syringe wrappers, tourniquets, and vials of powerful surgical drugs. Dr. Ryan, a respected medical professional, told police that Sarah struggled with her mental health and had overdosed on drugs she stole from his office. To the officers, his story seemed to add up. He was a doctor. He seemed distraught, and they treated it as a tragic accident. But they were wrong. This wasn't an accident. It was the devastating end to a story of control, addiction, and manipulation. It was a murder committed not with a gun, but with a doctor's most trusted tools, a needle and a steady supply of surgical anesthetics. Before her life was systematically dismantled, Sarah Harris was by all accounts a shining star. Described as incredibly bright and energetic, she was a former local beauty queen with dreams of becoming a doctor herself. In the summer of 2020, 23-year-old Sarah went to Evolution Oral Surgery to get her wisdom teeth removed. The man who did the procedure was the practice's owner, Dr. James Ryan. He was more than twice her age, with a stellar reputation. What started as a routine appointment soon morphed into what looked like a fairy tale romance. After her surgery, Dr. Ryan started texting Sarah. When he found out she was interested in anesthesiology, he offered her a job as a surgical technician at his practice. For Sarah, it felt like a dream, a chance to work in the medical field she was so passionate about. Their professional relationship quickly turned personal. They started dating around January of 2021, and by the summer, she had moved into his home. On the surface, it seemed perfect. Ryan showed her and her family with lavish gifts and trips, playing the part of the charming, successful older man who adored his younger girlfriend. But underneath this perfect picture, a dark and controlling dynamic was already taking root. The first red flags were subtle, but deeply unsettling. That job offer, which seemed like a golden opportunity, was actually the first link in a chain of control. By becoming her employer, Ryan immediately created a power imbalance, entangling her professional life with their personal one. Her family, especially her mother, Tina, started to feel that Ryan's generosity felt less like affection and more like a way to show he was in charge. During one family trip, a drunk Ryan made a disturbing confession to Sarah's mother and sister. He admitted he first noticed Sarah when she was just 14 years old. This twisted revelation suggested his attraction wasn't some recent development, but a long-held obsession. Soon, Sarah's family noticed terrifying changes. The once vibrant young woman began to withdraw. She started wearing long-sleeved shirts, even in the summer, hiding the track marks that were starting to dot her arms. Her speech became slurred, and her weight plummeted. The fairy tale was quickly becoming a nightmare, and the man who claimed to love her was at the very center of it. The true horror began when Dr. Ryan introduced Sarah to the powerful drugs he could easily get from his surgical practice. It started with a chilling text message from February 2021. "I can give you an injection. The anxiety will be completely gone in 6 seconds. Let's try it." He wasn't offering her comfort, he was offering her a chemical cage. He started bringing home propofol, ketamine, and Valium. Dangerous anesthetics meant for clinical use under constant medical supervision. Soon their text messages read like a drug ledger. Sarah would ask, "Do we have ketamine here?" or plead, "We need syringes. I feel like crap." Ryan would confirm he had what she needed. Prosecutors would later argue he had symptomatically created an addict. He was her only source, the one person who provided the high she now craved. It was as if he had locked her in a cell and he was the only one with the key. making her completely dependent on him. The control was absolute. In one bone-chilling text from December 2021, Ryan wrote, "If you wake up, I just want to change. After I gave you ketamine just now." He was injecting her with powerful anesthetics while she was asleep, with no safety protocols, no monitoring equipment, and zero regard for her life. Her physical decline was terrifying. By the end, Sarah, a once healthy young woman, weighed only 83 pounds. Just 1 month before her death, Ryan had performed CPR to revive her from a ketamine overdose. Even that wasn't enough to stop him. He kept providing the very drugs that were killing her. On January 6, 2022, after months of being plied with a cocktail of dangerous anesthetics, Sarah's body finally gave out. The medical examiner determined her cause of death was acute intoxication by ketamine, propofol, and Valium. These drugs, especially when mixed, are known to suppress breathing. It's like they quietly flip a switch in the brain, telling the lungs to stop working. They are lethal without life support equipment found in the operating room. Equipment that was nowhere in sight in Ryan's living room. He had supplied the drugs, he had set up the IV drips, and he had ignored every single warning sign as she wasted away. As a prosecutor later put it, he had handed her a loaded gun. In the wake of Sarah's death, the case could have easily been closed as just another tragic overdose, if not for one person, her sister, Rachel Harris. While police initially brought Dr. Ryan's story, Rachel and her mother knew something was deeply wrong. They had seen the IV poles, the bloody towels, and the drug vials in the house on previous visits. Driven by a gut feeling, Rachel did something incredible. She figured out the password to Sarah's iCloud account. What she found was a digital bombshell. She uncovered the entire text history between Sarah and Ryan, a complete record of his manipulation and control. Rachel painstakingly compiled over 200 pages of evidence, including the damning texts and photos she'd taken of the drug paraphernalia, and organized it all into a binder. In February of 2022, she walked into the Montgomery County Police Department and handed them that binder. The evidence landed on the desk of Detective Ian, who immediately recognized it as explosive. The text proved Ryan wasn't just aware of Sarah's drug use, he was the source, and often the one administering them. Rachel's relentless work single-handedly flipped the investigation from an accidental death to a homicide. On March 22nd, 2022, Dr. James Ryan was arrested and charged with her murder. They charged him with a rare form of second-degree murder called depraved heart murder. This charge doesn't require intent. It requires proving that someone acted with such an extreme and reckless disregard for human life that they must have known death was a likely outcome. It's like someone driving a blindfolded down a busy highway. They may not be aiming for a specific car, but they know their actions could easily cause a fatal crash. The prosecution's case was simple. As a trained oral surgeon, he knew better than anyone just how lethal these drugs are outside of a clinical setting. He knew he was juggling with fire, but he did it anyway to maintain his power and control over Sarah. His defense attorneys tried to argue that he was just a flawed man who loved Sarah and was trying to help her with her depression. They claimed she took drugs herself. The jury wasn't buying it. After an 8-day trial filled with the horrifying text messages and evidence of her decline, they needed less than 3 hours to reach a verdict. On August 25th, 2023, Dr. James Ryan was found guilty of second-degree depraved heart murder and involuntary manslaughter. In January of 2024, Dr. James was sentenced to 45 years in prison. The judge told him her body gave out at 25 years old. You knew better. During the hearing, Sarah's mother, Tina, stood in court clutching a lock of her daughter's hair and her ashes, and looked the man who destroyed her family right in the eye. Sarah Harris's story is a terrifying reminder of how a position of trust can be twisted into a weapon of control. She wasn't a willing participant in her own destruction. She was a victim, chemically trapped by a predator who used his medical knowledge to slowly erase her. While a form of justice has been served, there are no winners here. A shining star was extinguished, leaving a heartbroken family to grieve a young woman who deserves so much more. What are your thoughts on this case and the depraved heart murder charge? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like more deep dives into complex cases like this one, be sure to subscribe. And thanks for watching.